Allegra Lilly is a newly appointed principal harpist with the Houston Symphony and is principal harpist faculty at Brevard Music Center.
So I started playing the harp when I was 7 years old. I had had a couple of years of piano before that point. And then I just really fell in love with the harp going to orchestra concerts with my family as a child. And I begged my parents for lessons. And thankfully, they were open to that after, me being pretty relentless about it. And so then I went on to go to Juilliard for undergraduate and master's degrees, studying with Nancy Allen of the New York Philharmonic. And my teacher growing up was Ruth Myers, who teaches at Eastern Michigan University. Fabulous teacher. And so after graduating from Juilliard, I stayed in New York freelancing for a time before winning my position in the St. Louis Symphony, which I was in from 2013 until this year, 2023, when I made the move to Houston.
If you could play any instrument other than the harp, what would it be?
I think I would have to say percussion, actually. I really love the rhythmic capabilities of the harp. And I think it's because of that inherent love of rhythm and the beat. And I think I would really enjoy playing percussion.
When you are not at the harp, what are some things you do to occupy your free time?
Well, my husband and I spend a lot of time traveling as much as we can, just to try to see as much of the world as we can while we're here. And I also really enjoy reading film and television. I really dig into those things, especially film. I've seen a lot of old movies. It was a big thing for me growing up with my family. And also, as I'm in the Tetons right now at the Grand Teton Music Festival, doing a lot of hiking and outdoor activities, which is also very fun and increasingly a part of my life.
Has it always been your dream to become principal harpist?
It certainly has, almost as long as I can remember. I mean, when I first started playing the harp, I don't remember thinking particularly about orchestra, but when I joined a youth orchestra for the first time, I was actually only in sixth grade. But I had the opportunity to join the Detroit Symphony Civic Orchestra at that time. And man, the first time we played a really huge orchestral work, I think the first one I really remember was The Pines of Rome by Respighi. And I just remember sitting in the middle of this huge ensemble and hearing everything around me and just feeling like this is so incredible. I couldn't get enough of it. And then a couple of years later, I played the Adagietto from Mahler 5 for the first time. And I think that was what really sealed the deal. I couldn't really see myself doing anything else after that.
How is the audition process of becoming a principal harpist like, and what is the most stressful part about it?
You know, it's just generally a stressful process taking an audition. It's very different from actually doing the job in many ways. We play these little excerpts from pieces, but they're completely outside of the context of the rest of the orchestra. So you're just playing your one bit by yourself, which of course you only ever do in an audition or practicing on your own. So that can feel a little bit alien on the day when you walk into the audition room and you're alone on that stage. It can feel uncomfortable in a way that, to me, playing in the orchestra doesn't, because you have everyone around you, you're just making music together. I think that can be kind of the most stressful part, is walking out on that stage and hearing yourself in the room alone the first few notes that you play. And the more you settle in, the more comfortable you get. Um, but ideally, you've prepared yourself by playing in a lot of different spaces and performing for a lot of people, to try to work all those kinks out and feel as comfortable as you can with the material on the audition day.
In what ways does the audition process for harpists differ from other instruments?
You know, harp, I believe, would be really the only instrument in the orchestra where you don't almost ever. I mean, I there may be a rare situation where, somebody has some experience playing the harp on the committee, but for the most part, it's the only time you audition for an orchestra and have a committee that is made up of entirely not harpists, people who don't play your instrument. For every other instrument, there's at least someone in the same instrument family, but we're kind of in our own family as harpists. We're alone in the orchestra. So a lot of times, orchestra or audition committees will actually hire a harp consultant to answer questions about what they should be listening for in each excerpt, because it's simply not a familiar instrument to most, even other musicians. Um, I remember being in graduate school and having other students come up to me after an orchestra program and say, "Hey, I noticed that the harp has pedals." I mean, you would think by that point that, they would have noticed such a thing, but it's just an unknown quantity, the harp. So we're in a unique position vis-a-vis the committee hearing us by ourselves.
What are you most looking forward to joining the Houston Symphony?
Well, there's one very obvious, easy answer, which is that my husband is actually the principal bassist in the Houston Symphony. So I'm obviously very excited after several years of long distance to be living in the same place and working in the same place. Um, but I'm also so excited about working with Uri Velchua, who's the music director in Houston. He's just a phenomenal musician and absolutely surgical in his rehearsal technique. I think he inspires not only great playing but great emotional output in the orchestra, and it's very exciting to perform for him. Um, they have a great management team in Houston that is very forward thinking and looking at really exciting big picture future prospects. So very much looking forward to that. And then really just the orchestra, because of my existing relationship with a lot of people there, it feels like it's already, a family. It's a lot of great friends at work every day. So it's going to be really fun, I think, working with all of them.
What is a typical day like working with students at Brevard Music Center?
Um, the average day starts with rehearsal for me, with the main orchestra of faculty and college students. We do kind of a side by side ensemble. So those rehearsals are typically first thing in the morning. And after those rehearsals, I might teach a lesson or two. And then I spend a lot of the day um, actually sitting in on my students' rehearsals, just kind of dropping in to make sure everything's going okay, listening for balance in different parts of the hall. We teach I have a weekly studio class where we both, we perform, and we also have kind of discussion topics. And then in the evenings, a lot of times there are chamber performances or opera performances or orchestral concerts to go to kind of hear each other perform. So it's a pretty busy schedule a lot of the time. The nature of it, because there's so many different ensembles performing all the time, and because the harpists are in each one of those groups, there's rarely a day that's completely off. There's always something going on.
Lastly, what advice would you offer to young harpists wanting to pursue the role of a principal harpist?
It's a great question. I think, as harpists, because of the nature of our repertoire, because there isn't harp in every piece, and a lot of times even our school orchestras growing up didn't maybe use us terribly frequently. A lot of us have quite a bit less ensemble experience than other instrumentalists. So by the time we even get to the college level, we're a little bit behind everyone else in the orchestra in terms of just how much we've done it. Advice I could give a young harpist is to absolutely play as much as you can. Um, take advantage of every opportunity to play an orchestra and chamber music as well, because it's largely the same skill set. Orchestral music is frequently just chamber music on a larger scale. So I would really always suggest just playing as much as you can with other people. We do a lot of solo rep, and I love that music, and it's very rewarding to play, but you're alone, and it's just a different experience playing with other people. And then I would also say, I think it is extraordinarily beneficial to play second harp next to a more experienced harpist. Just sitting with someone, having to lock into their sound and their timing, that is really a huge portion of the job, is just like learning to anticipate, learning to hear how someone is going to articulate something, and to have to do that along with another harpist who's more experienced with locking into the rest of the orchestra. It's such a great form of guidance for you before you're necessarily as confident doing it yourself, leading a section yourself. So I got some of the best experience and advice of my entire career playing second harp to some of the greatest principal harpists in the world right now.